So we've got the beginnings of Sky Earth, or SE-NMM. One of the main things that people say about this non-metallic metal phenomenon is you should always paint it over white. I'm going to purposely paint it over black today just to show you that that's not the case. You get just as good a finish whether you paint it over black or white. So I'm going to start with really simple colours now. There's no wet blending at all involved. They also say that you've got to master wet blending before you even try non-metallic metal. I'm not going to do any wet blending at all, I never do it. And you'll see just how easy it is to achieve. So I've got some shadow grey here. I'm going to go over again this ogre's weapon. We're going to show you on quite large weapons today for the purpose of the DVD. It's mainly used on weapons and in some cases armour. But mainly weapons is where this application will come into its own. I'm going to show you on unpainted subjects, so you get a really good feel of the colour tones and the technique without any other distractions. So I've already coated it once with shadow grey. I've got a really thin mixture here. You can actually see that this mixture is basically just coloured water. It's really very thin indeed. It's almost like you'd use a water paint. I'm going to recoat this blade now, and you want to do this a couple of times using this very thin mixture until you get a very solid colour without too many blotches coming through. Although don't really try and make it too opaque because it's just not practical. So I'm going to paint the blade in vertical strokes. You can see there's plenty of paint going on there. We're not skimping with the paint whatsoever. It'll take a little bit of time to dry. But once that dries, what you'll end up with is some very fine black patches showing through. Don't worry about them, they'll paint out as we go along. There's quite a lot of highlighting levels to go on this. So here's our blade basically finished. We've got that cut in there of the brown fading to light mid-codex grey towards the bottom. Don't highlight it too much because otherwise it gets a bit sludgy mixed with the brown. So I've only taken it up to like a mid-grey there. You can take it up to white. It'll give you a much starker appearance. It'll make the sky look like it's actually quite a bright sky. I wanted quite a murky sky. I quite like them that way. I think it just sets the mood to the figure. As a final stage, what I'm going to do is I've added quite a lot of white to Codex Grey, and I'm now just going to paint on the very edge, the very tip there, the way light's going to reflect. It's going to be down the blade. Don't take it all the way down the blade, just certain areas where there might be irregularities in the blade after years of service. It could be a sharp worn point there. Just painting the tips of those nicks. Anyway, you get striations or nicks in the blade, and that's basically Sky Earth non-metallic metal. The principle is exactly the same as I've just shown you there. Feel free to vary your colours. Keep adding more white to it. See how far you want to take it. Just have a go. Don't be scared of it. Anyone can do it. Next, I'm going to show you flat or non-reflective non-metallic metal. I've started with a basic base coat of Codex Grey and Chaos Black, 50-50 mix, so we get like a dark grey. I'm just going to use the same principle as we used before, only this time I'm using Codex Grey and shades of it. I'm going to keep adding Codex Grey to that mixture. And with non-reflective, all you have to do really is accentuate the parts where light's going to hit it. But we have to do that in set stages rather than just blobbing on the colour. So I've added a little bit more Codex Grey to this. I'm going to add it to the top of the blade, roughly about halfway. We're going to leave the bottom area quite dark, because remember that colour will actually darken as it dries. A little more Codex Grey, a bit too much in there actually. And start filling in this middle section of the axe. We've got kind of like a rope twist detail in there as well. We'll add that last. All you need to do with that is add a black wash and probably spot on some mid-grey. A slight twist to non-metallic metal is a rustic blade. Again, I've got one of my favourite models here. This is an ogre yet again. I'm choosing these because they've got nice big surfaces to show you on. You can of course apply this to any scale you like. It works just the same way. You can probably see there we've actually started to stipple this on rather than to paint it this time. I've got Bestial Brown here and Chaos Black. To this I'm going to add some Blood Red. Now this will send it really quite a deep reddy brown colour. This is going to get stippled over the entire blade. Keep your paint quite thin again, not as thin as a binding wash this time. Like in the first DVD we're showing you the consistency to have your paint. That's the sort of consistency you want this time. So we're going to stipple this. We're going to start bottom to top this time. And we're literally just going to dab it on. It's not stippling like you may have heard before. Regular stippling involves in taking a fairly wide round brush, cutting it in half, cutting the bristles off and actually dabbing it on the same sort of way that you would do if you were stenciling. In this case I'm just going to use the tip of the brush. I'm going to dab more than stipple. So this is going to go over the entire length of the blade. Keep it quite sparse, it doesn't matter. Rust contains many textures. Good places to observe rust on metal using objects is building sites and stuff like that. Look at digger blades and earth mover blades. If you ignore the paint you can often see where the rusts began and where the movement of the earth has actually, or the movement of the blade has actually polished the tips to a bright metal again. So in effect we're now going to combine this new rusted technique with the flat NMM technique I showed you before. So the binding coat's now dry. I've added 2 binding coats to it. This is the first stage of the final highlight. Now we're going to go just to the very cutting edge with this. It's quite thin paint, it's more or less like coloured water, like we're showing you on the Sky Earth non-metallic metal. This is going just the very edge of the blade. You'll notice how I'm using the edge of my bristles again. And slightly to the edge of the fuller there. We're not doing a complete line this time. It's going to be quite a broken line. This is going in the inside of the fuller.